Hi, good news. Every year, worldwide, approximately 1.3 million people stop smoking every year. You can be one of them. That's no joke. 1.3 million people stop smoking every year, right? So, a little bit of on the flip side, right? Um, about 7.1 million people died prematurely. And this is in 2017, the study came out. And every year, about 480,000 United States citizens die from, people who live in the United States die from smoking or smoking related illness. And all of them were all preventable according to the data. Okay? So I want you to be with the 1.3 million, right? And this is the part, what this whole purpose of me doing this talk here is to teach you to cross over, um, from somebody who smokes, who reflexively smoke. I know there's a part of you that wants to stop smoking. Otherwise, you would not be watching this thing, right? And I'm telling you, you can't stop. I know it's an addictive, nicotine is an addiction, no doubt about it. But for an addictive substance, my God, thank God, thank you, God, right? It works wonderfully with hypnosis. Hypnosis has a really profound impact on it, right? And so does all the other stuff, the other smoking cessation products, the patch and pill, right? But I want to show you what, from my expertise, how it will help you and how I have helped my respiratory patients and my hypnosis client join the 1.3 million people every year. So let's jump right into it, okay? You see, in your life, right, you have put, in your life, in your subconscious or in your mind, you have put cigarettes in the positive column of your life. We have a positive column and negative column. For example, touching a hot stove is a negative, if it's a negative column in most of our lives, right? Because we don't like the pain. But when it comes to smoking, you've been hypnotized to put it's the nicotine, guys. It's just the nicotine and how it messes with our brain on this thing, right? Right? We give it this magical, romantic superpowers that it really doesn't have, right? But it exists inside of our skull. Do you understand how cigarettes make with our morning cup of coffee sets the day right? It gives me my me time. It helps me think, right? So do you understand? So you've put it in the positive column. And as long as it stays there, it's going to be very difficult for you. And what I need you to do is mindfully start to shift it into the negative column. And so we're going to use a technique, right? So from positive to negative, okay? A technique that I learned from this Dr. David Burns. I've got to give it credit, right? He is a pioneer. He's like, his contribution to the field of psychology is, in my opinion, bar none. Okay, he was from University of Penn, and now he's in Stanford. All right, you can Google it at a later point. So, but let me use his powerful principles that I help my respiratory patients who were smoking, who were trained to stop smoking, right, and also to my hypnosis clients, right. So it's called the pleasure predicting scale or pleasure predicting assessment, form or documents. Easy. Take a piece of paper, draw 3 columns. The first column is you write cigarette number. If there's 20 cigarettes, you're going to write cigarette number 1, cigarette number 2, number 3, number 4, so on and so forth. Okay? In the second column, it is the anticipated pleasure for each cigarette. For example, your very first cigarette in the morning, I want you to write down, and before you light up that cigarette, in your mind, anticipate how awesome it is. Like, what is the positive benefit you think you're going to get out of it? Do it as a percentage. A lot of people will say the first cigarette is like 100%. They look forward to it, right? I don't know if it applies to you, but for a lot of my clients and my patients, that's the way it plays out. All right. The third column is the actual pleasure. It's the actual pleasure. Can you really see that? Actual pleasure, right? Okay. what he wants you to do is, after you write down what your what you anticipate the real pleasure from smoking the first cigarette is, go ahead and light it up. Be in the moment, savor it. But this time, come in with a different mindset. Come in like a researcher and say, I wonder, is this really making my day, setting the day right? I like the fact that I'm outside of my house smoking, it gives me an excuse. Can I still be outside and smoke? I mean, and drink my cup of coffee and still get the same benefit? Am I not still doing this as my me time? I mean, does it really make my day go right? Really? Just really assess. Some people may say it's 100% still. Some people say, oh, you know what, it actually dropped. I anticipated it to be 100%. It's actually 70%. Fine. Or maybe it's 15%. Then go to cigarette number 2, right? In cigarette number 2, whatever your cigarette number 2, maybe you're driving to work, right? What is your anticipated pleasure you get out of it? Write it down. A lot of people will say about maybe 50, 60%. Go ahead and light and drive. Did it make your driving, and then really assess, did it really make my driving so much more smoother? Did I really enjoy the driving better? Did it help me look forward to going to work because of this cancer stick? Right? And a lot of people say, you know what, no, it actually was only maybe 10% or 20%. And you go down one by one for each one of the cigarettes, and you slowly start to shift. And I need you to start using the conscious part. The conscious part. Listen, the prefrontal cortex, this part here in the front here, came online, right? Only matures when we're 24 years old and older. Most of us who smoke, or most of the people who smoke or picked up a nicotine delivery device, like vaping, chewing tobacco, cigarettes, picked it up before this became mature, came online. This is the executive decision. This is where more logic comes into place. We were working on our emotional part of our brain was hyperactive as we were growing. That's when you picked up this habit, right? And now using this, slowly you start to push and really question it and push everything from the positive column of smoking or nicotine, vaping, or chewing tobacco into the negative column, right? I have a client that has in his mind, he stopped smoking. He was double fisting it, smoking 2 packs a day, right? Almost, right? He started, when I introduced this concept to him, he then started to see his brother's face in the coffin, whose brother died prematurely from smoking-related illness. He purposely now started to see his brother's face every time he lit up. And his favorite time of the day to smoke was his morning cup of coffee, right? And he would purposely start to see he did it consciously, purposely start to see his brother's face in the coffin while he's lighting up, and start to associate negative feelings towards death. And what he was doing was he was pushing it from the positive column of his life into the negative column. We have to be conscious about it. In hypnosis, we will break, right? My goal here is to break the subconscious connections that's between smoking, the association between smoking and the triggers, driving, coming out of the gym, cup of coffee, stress, whatever it is, boredom, okay? Right? We dissolve it, no longer living like our pets, like my dog, right? With the Pavlov response, right? He sees any food and he starts, after about a minute, if I don't feed him, right? If his eyes is still fixated on the food, and drool will just start dropping. It's okay. And we find that we need to break that connection. I want you to join the 1.3 million people who stop smoking every year. I know I can help you, but I want you to want it. Okay? Reach out to me, positivehealinghypnosis.com. Schedule a free consultation. You can do this, guys. Cheers.